Hospice is not about dying, it's about living completely the rest of your life and living it with comfort and compassion.
When a really sick patient with painful metastatic cancer who wanted to die at home, and we didn't have anything to help him do that in Wilmington at the time, and then hearing about it, just reading about the first hospice up in New Haven. Those were the two sort of trigger events.
Yeah, we would, I'm not even sure, you know, it's been a while. I'm not sure anybody had a specific role. I mean, we all would have meetings, we'd all get together. I was an oncologist, so I mean, obviously I had access to the understanding and the care of cancer patients. Dan was sort of an organizer.
So I heard about this group that was talking about hospice care and trying to get a group started in Wilmington, and started going to some of their board meetings just as a way of finding out what was going on and having a basis from which to write a paper that was from an administrative point of view.
Eloise Thomas came to one of those early meetings. We had a couple public meetings, and Eloise came to one of those and asked if she could write her master's. She was getting her master's in nursing out at UNCW.
Eloise worked with them and ended up writing the Certificate of Need documents, and then following that, the hospice did originate an organization, and she became the first executive director.
Having our first patient was really very exciting. Sandy Morgan and her husband Philip shared so much with us. I said I learned more from them than I probably did from anybody else that I ever worked with in hospice care.
So we were located in that little tiny building. It was literally so small that my office was a closet. I don't mean it was the size of a closet. It really was a closet.
When I first started working, I believe there were only 5 staff members and 200 volunteers. And we covered 3 counties. And look at us now. We had about 20 patients when I first started working, and I spent a lot of time behind the wheel of the car, traveling from home to home. And now with the width and breadth of our home care services, which certainly grew, especially when the hospice Medicare benefit became available in the 80s. And then the opening of this care center here in Wilmington, and the one in Whiteville, and the proposed one and the planned one in Brunswick, our services have just grown and grown and grown.
Well, the Hospice Care Center was a concept that many hospices in the country were beginning to talk about, and there were a few of them scattered here, there, and elsewhere over the country. And I had visited some of those when we went to hospice meetings, and just knew that that was something that we needed to do, that not everybody can stay at home.
People leave that place after whoever it is that they love that died, they're never the same. They are never the same. They're better.
We had an opportunity in the early 2000s to apply for a certificate of need for a second care center out in the Columbus County area to serve that population that found it very hard to get to our Wilmington Care Center.
Well, it's a natural for Whiteville because Whiteville has such a warm heart, and people will respond to a need, and so the job that we had was to tell the story of hospice.
Well, I hope it affects and makes a difference on a lot of people's life and the way they look at things, and I hope it's helpful where they'll have something closer at home to when they need it than they have to go to Wilmington or Whiteville or long places. That's what we're looking forward to.
She was an artist and a poet, and she especially liked drawing roses because she was kind of a flower child in a lot of ways. And so our friendship blossomed, and then she always was one of these kind of caring people that likes to help wounded robins back in their nests again. and she got the calling somewhat spiritually, I think, to become a nurse. And whatever she made up her mind to do, she moved fast forward with that. And so she started in the nursing program at UNCW, and Sandy continued in that until she started having a limp, and the nursing director at that time said she had to check that out and see what was wrong. And that's where this particular challenge started. We joined hospice as volunteers, and ironic enough, we were volunteers and she became their first patient. We'd known each other for over 10 years when she passed away. Basically, we started the basic going to a doctor, and from there she had a biopsy. From the biopsy, we went to special programs at Duke, and she had all the treatments. She went through tremendous chemo and radiation treatments, both at Duke and in Charlotte. She was quite a soldier fighting. She was fighting for her life.
Michael was diagnosed in the spring of '02, and it was Ewing sarcoma, and it was in his leg, left leg, and it had attached to the bone. I tell you, after 4 years of having this doctor appointment, that doctor appointment, this meeting, waiting for results, blah, blah, you know, everything seemed to drag. You get a blood test and it takes you a week to get the results, and then it takes them a week to figure out what they're going to do with the results. Having hospice come in was such a breath of fresh air.
Everyone was so nice. There was not one hospice nurse or anyone that came in that we didn't love, that wasn't fun, it wasn't there to make us smile, make us laugh, do whatever. And they really were angels, like my mom always says. They really took care of us completely.
There's no way I could be a recipient of what hospice did for me and my family without giving back. There's just no way. And I believe the good Lord doesn't have us go through things to just keep them to ourselves. He has us go through so we can help the next person. So I said, I will do whatever I can do for hospice for forever. You know, I've never met anybody that's had a bad hospice experience, ever met anybody that's had a bad hospice experience. I think that working in hospice care makes us all realize that there's still a long ways to go in terms of caring for people who are dying and helping them understand and come to the realization and that acceptance themselves.
The art of hospice is knowing when to decide, you know, enough is enough. I can't cure the problem. My goal is to add quality of life to what time that is left.
It's hard to think now that hospice has grown to what it is from that tiny beginning, but it's a really good feeling to know that, you know, that what we started, it's one of those things where it's like the cliche of, can only a few people actually accomplish anything important? Well, yes, they can.
I really think that was, those years affected me deeper than any time of practicing medicine in my whole life. The science of medicine challenges my mind, but hospice challenges my heart and soul.
I started hospice doing direct care, and my last years in hospice will be doing direct care, and that's my favorite part. We are so privileged to get to meet the people who let us into their lives. It's such a special time.